it's about that time to get this game started. We got Bryson 10 on the mic. Fellas, my European brothers, it's good to see you again.
Thank you much, fella. Yes, we are very much looking forward to this game, Florida versus Seattle. An important game for so many reasons. Obviously, these two teams are sitting in what I'm now calling the bubble on the way to champs. About 6 teams in it. These two teams are only 10 points apart, and a lot of those teams are trying to make sure they qualify going forward. So there's an awful lot on the line for these two. Depending on their schedule, there's not going to be that much more available, Ton.
There isn't, you know, and we do talk about those bubble teams quite a lot, but there is quite a lot of teams in this. Like, it is quite large at this stage.
It is a 16, yeah. And just so we're clear what we're talking about, on the run up to champs now, obviously there are, yes, you can get a good amount of points at the majors, 65 for first, 50 for second, and so on. But in each qualifier section, there's only 50 as well. We're coming to the end of one of the last qualifier sections, only one more after this. This means that there are a few teams battling for it. It goes from Minnesota Rocker, Seattle Surge, Thieves, Mutineers, Ultra, and Subliners are all the teams who could either make or break champs on the next few weeks. Essentially, if they do well here and at the major, they have a good chance of getting themselves out of that danger zone.
Yeah, absolutely. It is really the opportune moment for a lot of these teams to get things rolling. But I think, you know, between these two teams, it obviously is very close on that stage. And I think looking at these maps as well, I feel like they're very, very close as well. I mean, I was literally looking at the stats of every single one of these maps. Both two teams, very similar records across all of them. Both teams actually on Bocage Hardpoint, which is going to be our very first map. Both 5-5 on that currently. But one thing that I found very, very strange, Brycey, these two have only actually played each other once over the season. That was all the way back in week number 3 of stage 1. So going all the way back, which is quite some time ago, when Seattle were really at the top of their game and Florida was still kind of mixy, it was a Florida 3-0. So
I'm sorry, that makes me laugh. Like 5-5 on Bocage for both teams. Like the definition of mid.
Oh, it's so mid. But I don't know why you would go against Florida on this map. That's the only thing as well, though. I know the stats are like that, but I feel like with Florida, their record, they've challenged a lot of the top teams on this as well. They played FaZe, they played Optics, and they seem to be the only teams they've lost it against. So, I don't know. I think it's a strange pick for Seattle, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll certainly have to find out. Like I said, I'm looking forward to this game. I think it's very important, depending on these two teams' schedules moving forward, to get the points locked and loaded right now. Obviously, a little bit of a dance around P1 as both teams just try to lock it down, as Vivid already manages to find 2. And again, this is all about positioning for P2. You can see both these teams really kind of reluctant to commit to too much time.
See how Dave Paddy's going to do during this series. 1.2 against Seattle last time. They turned out it really was the ARs on the side of Florida that got the job done last time around. But honestly, the way that Sib has been playing in general over this stage so far, he's a scary prospect for a lot of these teams, but so far so good for the Seattle Surge. Mac at 5-1. I think it was the notorious flu game that we seen out of him, wasn't it? What was it? what did they call Mac? Was it when Mac was Yak on the stage and he managed to drop like loads of kills when it comes down to Bocage? Either way, a good start from a 5-2. Rotation though belongs at this moment in time towards the Seattle Surge. Although sorry to the Florida Mutineers here. It's hard. The coloring's very similar, Brycey. What can I say?
Yeah, it can be a little bit of a challenge, but we'll try and make sure this all goes smoothly for everyone at home. Right now, it's still a bit of a battle going on as they try to hold this one down. It's not really a complete hold from them, though. They do have the spawn lost. You can already see the pinch coming through, but they're Paddy trying to hold on all the pressure that was coming. Will, of course, be that scrap time over towards the Seattle Surge. Should bring this game pretty even.
It's a good chunk of scrap time as well, Brycey. Around 30 seconds or so that they've got to play with here. So the Mutineers are ready to find this rotation over towards P3. It's their favourite hill when it does come down to Bocage. We know that the map in particular is very, very mixy. It's hard to gain too much of an advantage, but on average they're getting more than, well, the average, I would say, for all these other teams. You tend to lock down a good amount of time here. 90% of the time they hold it when they have this rotation over. But, well, that's not looking likely now, as 2 kills are going to be found towards the back. Sib just trying to work over towards the backside, trying to get a hold of the spawns. Dave Paddy finding an important one, but accuracy inside the hills. Seattle Surge have found a break.
Had a little bit of a break, but I didn't really have the numbers to back it up as Vivid and Skies combined. And now Florida Mutineers are in control, so going to try and find something towards the back, and eventually finds Awakening. Awakening says thank you very much for that kill. The rest of Seattle Surge trying to get in position for this one as well, and Matt calls it perfectly. Finds him in the corner, looks for Skies, does get shut down as both teams keep pouring players into this.
Yeah, we talked about Skies having to pick it up heading into this series, not necessarily been have the best of times over towards stage 3. Not too bad of a start. I say that, 3 and 6. But still, important kills are what we talk about. I mean, you know, during challenges during the week, I'm not going to specifically point out any versions of what happened, but there's occasions where players are finding 2 pieces to win the games and things like that. So it's not necessarily always down to those kill-to-death ratios. It's the important kills you find. A couple of important ones coming in there. Side of Skies, 7 and 6, I should say. Sorry.
This is still a very tight game between the two of them. Eventually, it will be Seattle Surge that get hold of Barn, and at the moment, I do feel like they're doing a better job around this map. It's not the biggest of distances so far, but hey, it's Bakaj. That's kind of what happens over and over again. Pred gonna find his sip, looking for the glide bomb now, but will be cut down by Vivid before he can actually get anything rolling. Sip gonna find Skies, and that double back does not fall in for a second. And now this is a good hold here onto Barn. Seattle Surge have got this one locked in. And they are winning the kill feed as well. And now, if you are going to be the Florida Mutineers, it's time to regroup and regain and get all the way into River.
Yeah, rotation over towards P4, 5, sorry, so it's coming in there now. Back up top, he may be able to disrupt this, but the rest of his team picking up that scrap time. This is a healthy lead for the side of Seattle Surge when it comes down to Bakaj. It's not one we see too often. Mac has momentarily slipped the nets. That would have been a good gunfight to win. Awakening will get traded, though. And all of a sudden, this gunfight against Vivid is so important. But Sib, continuing where he left off here in stage 3, eventually will get taken down. Mutineers are a little bit fortunate to get the spawns towards the back. It's looking like Seattle may have found a breakthrough there. But Mutineers just about holding on to those spawns and, crucially, onto the hill as well. Seattle Surge still trying for the push towards the back. It's only momentarily Pred left in a position to do anything. And that's a good hold from the Mutineers. Yeah, they needed that.
They managed to get a little bit back into this one, and Skies and Vivid combining there just to make sure they couldn't get past them. And now already spreading out. You know Seattle Surge aren't really going to push this tempo too hard. They'll be setting up, trying to lock down a little bit of time on P1, but more importantly, that rotation for P2. It'd be dreadful for them to lose it for about 10 seconds of scrap.
Nice little spree going on from Vivid here. Most engagements across, well, everybody in this team when it does come down to Bakaj, and that surprises absolutely nobody. P1 now coming up. Mutineers have definitely reduced that deficit. Around 50 or 60 at one point for Seattle Surge. That's a really nice hold over towards P5. They've strung it up with a couple of kills heading over towards the next hill as well. Vivid is still going. 6 spree from him. If you can find one more, it's a glide, and that might help them break over towards P2 in around 40 seconds or so. There's still time.
There is, and again, basically we might have reset the map, gone all the way back to the first rotation ton, because it is neck and neck. And again, the same story is playing out here on Bakaj. P1, while it's good to get a little bit of time and soak it up, it is not usual for either team to really dominate on it. It's all about these spawns. It's all about holding down P2 and looking for the lion's share of time. At the moment, you can see the Mutineers are trying to stretch towards the back. Vivid is going to be making a play towards 10, but he's gunned by accuracy. Sky's making 2 in Barn. But at the moment, it does seem like Seattle Surge will hold this down for P2.
Yeah, but the ace in the hold here for the side of Mutineers is that Vivid does have a hold of that glide bomb. Do you choose to invest it here? Or do you wait for things maybe getting a little bit scary, or do you just secure some sort of time with an Awakening, though, of top Barn surviving, if only momentarily? As Dave Paddy with him, as the rest of the team now coming off the respawn. Keep an eye on Pred inside of Grandma's, trying to cause a ruckus, and has done so. This is really well held by the Seattle Surge. Brilliantly held, actually. Pred pushing out just causes chaos in the Mutineers' back line, and all of a sudden you can't even push out. Accuracy holding down the street. And look where Mutineers are spawning right now. They can't even get close to the point. They can't even get out Grandma's.
Yeah, we managed to finally find their glide bomb, and that's just to relieve more of the pressure. It is going to allow them to kind of escape the trap they were put in, because on P2 you can push out quite a distance. Unfortunately, a glide bomb does nothing if you don't make a kill to back it up, and they try to get out and they just push right back in. And Accuracy and Vivid just completely slide cancelled his lips off, and now you're going to see, is there a way the Mutineers will have this spawn because they were forced into it? Can they hold it and get some time back?
Yeah, that's a disastrous P2. As you said, the glide bomb goes. Questionable, I would say, in that occasion. Kind of just chalk it. You've already got 2 inside of Grandma's to get past you. You've got accuracy over towards the street as well. It's already a hard break on a few different fronts. And now can the break come here for Seattle Surge? Can they continue their dominance? Sib inside the point 1 and 2. Contested is the third there, not quite. Awakening, the only one left momentarily for the side of the Mutineers. Mac will find the kills at the front. Accuracy trying to line things up here towards the tank. But already you can see Pred in that prime position to slow down the Mutineers. This is wonderful from Seattle Surge so far.
One of the most infamous farming locations on this entire map, and he finds two. Not going to be able to find a third, but Sib will just get it as well, and the slaying is paying dividends. Seattle Surge are going further and further into the lead. The Mutineers need a big rotation and a big hold to have a chance to come back.
To be fair, Bryce, last time around, Seattle Surge had about this lead, although it is a little bit more than the lead they had heading over towards P4 last time, as Pred finds another two towards the back. But honestly, Mutineers have been here before. That P5 hold last time was wonderful, but Seattle Surge, the last 3 hills in a row, they've been there on the rotation, they've locked them down, and consequently locked down a lot of time. Let's see if they can continue.
Well, at the moment, we're going to see Mutineers trying to get into this barn, so let's go for a listen with the current leading team of Seattle Surge.
T3, I'm trying to contain, hold on. He's A plat, I'm gonna go. Low water. I'm top house. I'm just finessing, okay? T1, I heard. He's back tools.
T1, one shot.
I need a hole. He's dead. Good time, you guys, good time.
Look at my trips bench.
Nothing's
Awakening with T1.
Top on, awakening. Dead. Nice, boys.
I'm going.
He was like front gate. He stunned over from there.
I'm going left.
I'm gonna wait in the corner back house. I'm waiting in corner back house.
Okay, I'm going top.
I'm going top. Nothing bench. I need one time.
He's not camera.
One shot on time. Tunnel. Running to A-plat. Nice. In the back, Dave, one shot.
I'm going tunnel.
Okay. Standing on the open tower. I'm just saying. I'm going around again. You guys are
not Zig.
I'm bottom house right now. I'm going tail.
One shot tunnel.
Yeah, I can hit front. I'm going top house. I don't have any time. I can't say time. Time race, front time. I'm fighting out. Front time dead, I go time. Just keep it right. Keep it right. One more close ramp. I'm just keeping it wide. Okay. Tower ramp, shit on him. I'm shitting on him. Get time. If you can get on it. I'm gonna get drop on it. I'm on bottom house right now. Bottom house, one shot.
Huge comms there from Seattle Surge. The strategy actually coming out from them, just keep them off River Hill. And they did a very good job of it for the most part, but eventually going to go down as Pred falls as well, even when he's 33 and 25. There are some points flying in here for the Florida Mutineers, and maybe a little bit of confidence too.
Maybe if they can string something together here, you never know. Slaying-wise, very, very even for the side of Florida Mutineers, but Pred is having a game. They're 33 and 25 now. And this is where we see Mutineers pick up the majority of their time last time. They do a good job over towards P5, but can they flip this here now? Vivid and Co starting to find kills. This is starting to get a little bit scary. It's a 4-3-3 streak on the side of the Mutineers. We have not seen a Seattle Surge kill in quite some time. The map is now being flipped. If the Mutineers are in the best possible spot, if they can string together even one glide bomb here, you're screaming back into the game. Vivid is going to get caught out as Sib finds 2, though, and all those streaks are dissipated very, very quickly. But for the side of Seattle Surge, looking to try and flip that over towards field is going to be their objective here. Not in too much danger of a P1 hold, getting Florida Mutineers back into this one. It's all about the rotation over towards P2, which is still with the Mutineers here. Brycey starting to get a touch scary.
This will be an incredible comeback if they can manage it here. A little bit of soak on a P1. Vivid going to go for the chow. Does get it. Skies gets another kill. The biggest news at the moment, though, 10 seconds before P2 looms on the horizon. And the Florida Mutineers have made an impressive comeback. If so, can Seattle Surge break this? That's what they're going to be looking for. A huge hold for the Mutineers if they can make it. Keep an eye on that mini-map. Here comes the first engagement. Seattle Surge are winning a few of them as well. Only Awakening now really needs to just hold this for his team before they get pinned.
Spawns are still there, but it was massive kills that came in over towards Barn. It's a good job they got rid of Sib, who was pushing from Riverside. But Pred just being a nuisance in and around Barn is going to be an issue here. Vivid, can he clean them out? It's still Pred going. 5 spree for him. Not going to find the 6, but Awakening in over towards Grandma's. Florida Mutineers still on the spawn, but Seattle Surge have just etched away at what Florida Mutineers have done there. They're only 10 points away, which is huge for them. 25 seconds left to play for here over towards P2. Mutineers looking to lock that time in. They're not going to be too far off the Surge here, but can they break this P3 hold and also keep the scrap time?
That's it. They've not really made a push here, Florida, for about 30 seconds. They're looking for it, and Vivid is going to be dangerous. Seattle Surge have bet everything on this rotation. They have put their entire game on the line for it, and Vivid tries to break through, but he can't, and now Awakening in the back, but no! It's a complete denial and a complete shutdown. Florida Mutineers have not been able to break as they sprint towards this desperately, but they run into the guns of Seattle, and down they fall, and Seattle will take that hard point. But it did get a little bit stressful at the end, Ton.
It did get a touch stressful, didn't it? It's one of those scenarios that, I mean, we see it quite a lot, don't we? When it gets down to it, it comes down to that final rotation. You're leading the game, but you're stuck in Gromos. Even over towards P1, they lost a lot of time there. And then the rotation to P2 from Florida, very, very good, but just simply not enough.
No, it really wasn't. Maybe a little bit of a better start at the beginning may have paid out for them, but the final stats coming through. Pred dropping a 40 bomb, 41 and 31, 30 untraded kills with 4,295 damage. Certainly a force to be reckoned with on Bakaj. And as you can tell, the slaying was there for Seattle in the beginning, and they're probably not going to be happy how that ended. While it is a win, it was a bit stressful. I'm not going to lie to you. I did think if Florida Muniz have made one small break towards the end, it would have been a ridiculous comeback. And Seattle got to figure out why that happened.
I mean, it's kind of relative at the same time, though. I would say over towards P2, towards the end there. Had the game not necessarily been so close for Seattle to be able to win it over towards P3, they probably, I would say, challenge for that a little bit more. They kind of allowed Mutineers to have the rest of that time so they could set up over towards P3. Still, it did get a bit scary, but when you can get yourself set up, it's very, very difficult for a team to try and find that break over towards the back, as we've seen. Awaken and Vivid, they were the ones that was entrusted on to get something done, but unfortunately when there's 4 members of Seattle there, it's just very, very difficult. But yeah, Seattle, I would say I'd like to see them maybe work on their P5 hold maybe a little bit more. It was a couple of occasions where Florida, that's where they were finding a lot of their success. And then, of course, heading into the rotation from there over towards P1, a little bit of time, a little bit of Gromos control, mix it up, and you've got a few points on the board. But ultimately, Seattle surge across every single other hill, specifically 2 and 3. Very, very solid. Florida Mutineers will be disappointed with that themselves, though. To come so close towards the end there. Yeah.
Keep an eye on the highlights we're currently seeing. 220 to 148, halfway through River Hill. At that point, the next 2.5 rotations, essentially Seattle only get another like 14 points. And that is so scary for them as Florida Mutineers. Like I said before, if Vivid had found some magic towards the back, Awakening was there with him, it could have been a different story. A few more trades had gone the other way, and Seattle Surge will now be accused of throwing that entire map into the bin. It did not go well for them in the end. They got flipped out. They got slayed against. But a win is a win. And now we move on to Tuscan, Search, and Destroy. But it was closer than I thought it was going to be about halfway through.
Yeah, definitely. But as I said, I think always in those situations, you know, things do get scary. But I'm curious to what the comms are always like in the squad. In those situations, you know, as I was explaining, over towards P2, Seattle kind of let Florida have as much of that time as they possibly would have wanted because they have that rotation over towards P3, don't they? They want to make sure they lock that in. So you don't risk too much when you're trying to challenge for that scrap time. And that ultimately does help the side of Florida, maybe humble them in the score a little bit more. But ultimately, I think what did really bring Florida back into it was P5. Every single time they did look good over towards that, and they kind of just snowballed into P1. And then that time around, they did hold the spawns with P2. The other 2 times, they didn't get that P2 rotation. Ultimately, it was a deserved win for Seattle. Yes, okay, it did get a little bit scary, but even in those final moments, it never felt to me like Florida were going to make that break. Seattle always had the rotation over towards P3, and from there, it's usually done and dusted.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something, for 2 teams that were 5-5 on Bakaj, it certainly ended up looking like it with how close that game did end here. But we were expecting a tight game between them. One of the 2 questions about these 2 teams is which version of them turns up today. Bearing in mind they've only played once in the CDL so far, they have both been accused of blowing hot and cold against many teams, right? People want to know where the consistency is. People want to know who is the better team and how well are they going to do at Major number 3. We are not far away from finding out when we go to LAN who is the better team and who performs better at this point. You add in the fact that also these are 2 of the teams that are fighting for a chance at champs. And it is just a chance, because you've got to remember, even if you do well during qualifiers or at the major, other teams are going to be gaining points as well. None of them are any way near locked in. And the more you can get now, the more comfortable you are going to feel as the season progresses.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that out of these 2 teams, which one feels in prime position is probably the side of Seattle, to be honest with you. I feel like they've looked pretty decent over the last couple of weeks. We're starting to see a little bit more consistent performances, I would say. But we need to see it consistently. I know, like, consistently consistent is kind of where we want to be for the Seattle Surge, because I think we know that their ceiling is really, really high. We've seen Sib and Pred start off the year fantastically, It's kind of hit a little bit of a dip. Sib, though, this season has been fantastic. Pred really stepping it up there in that map number 1, and that's what you expect a game out of Pred. The SMG up close on Bakash against a team who wants to farm with those engagements as well. You'd expect Pred to enjoy himself in that situation. He did so, and that's what we need to see.
There was a lot to break down about that hard point as well. If you're Seattle, so we usually talk about like momentum being a big thing in Call of Duty, right? It's the Seattle. I feel like you don't carry that much momentum going forward because your win wasn't that clean, and it was in a dangerous position. And Florida were looking like the better team in the second half. The other part of it, of course, is as we move forward between these two teams, there's been accusations of mistakes from things like Florida, like not getting on the point and all that. And obviously, Seattle has the infamous meme that sometimes they're good and sometimes they aren't. So moving forward into this S&D, it has always been difficult to benchmark these teams simply because you could put them in a position in your power rankings, and I'm sure many people have. And then after that, they either become even better or a lot worse, right? Like I think Chance, we were speaking to him before the show. I think he put one of them third, and he goes, and then they just won nothing for the next 3 weeks. And that's the entire issue with them. They need to find some consistency. This is the time of year where excuses don't really matter anymore. I'm not going to lie to you. We are about to go to Toronto. After that, we have one last roll, one last qualifier, one last major, and Champs is there. First of all, you've got to get to Champs, and second of all, you need to be in the best position possible for it, because let's face it, the Champs is a bit different.
It is. You need to make sure you're firing on all cylinders by that point. You need to make sure you're there, of course. That is very, very important. But for these two teams, it is crunch time, because at their top, I would say, the top of both of their powers, Florida are kind of that team who are on, we're using the word bubble quite a lot, but they're kind of on the cusp of that top 6 kind of area, you would say. But Seattle, on their day, I believe are a top 4 team and can be a top 4 team. But, I mean, how many times have we seen it? Seattle come out, they'll beat Optic, and then lose to, all respect to them, a team like Florida. These are the games that they should... Looking at the Seattle roster and how they started the season, and you look at them on paper, these are the sort of games they should be going into and winning fairly comfortably. That's what they want from this sort of result. I mean, everybody would love a comfortable win over Florida, but then it depends what Florida show up as well. Sometimes they're very, very streaky. Awakening can drop a 1.4 on your head, and all of a sudden you're in a game 5, and you never know which way it's going to go. So I think it's very difficult for Seattle at the moment. They have looked a lot better. I just want to see it continue. And if it's like map number 1 all the way through, they should be fine. But for the side of Florida, look, it's another one of those ones that comes down to a close barrage. Choke it up and see how you go the rest of the series.
Yeah, I kind of get that as well. And I suppose people at home are kind of wondering why we're talking so much about the points at the moment. Truthfully, because it is actually a very difficult thing to work out and calculate how it goes through, but it's how much it actually means for these teams. If you take in consideration the rest of the CDL at the moment, Rocker are on a very good spree. They're one of those teams fighting to make sure they get the Champs. New York Subliners, of course, have looked fantastic in recent time. Even though they are the lowest out of all the teams that we call in this so-called bubble, they have explosively come forward and they have been doing a great amount of work, even to the point where when we go to the major, people are expecting them to place pretty highly going forward. Ultra have also looked better. So it's not just about, maybe winning a game or 2 here, because everybody else, especially with that many teams on the upswing, are going to cause issues for you. Those 3 teams, by the way, could be the 3 teams that just make it a Champs and everybody else fails. Everybody else could fail here because they're the ones on the upswing and they're gaining points more consistently, which is why Seattle versus Florida is such an important game. And I know you're probably sick of me saying this already, but we are waiting for map number 2. And don't worry, because we'll go over it even more as the series progresses.
Yeah, we'll be jumping into, all the Champs points and how things do break down. When we're further on in the season as well, we're talking about it now because it is getting close to the point now where teams are in need of points. It's not like, we can drop that series, but as long as we have a good performance in Toronto, guys, haha. No, it's actually you just need to win every single game now. Of course, every team is going out to win every single game, but it's getting to the point where each of these games is becoming a little bit more important. And I think you're right, there's a lot of teams on the rise at the moment. And it's entertaining, to say the least, though, isn't it? It's one of those things I was about to say, it's scary. It's scary for all of those teams in there, because it's like, okay, yeah, well, we've improved, but so is absolutely everybody else. It just feels like Paris are the outlier on that one, maybe, but it's just everybody is looking so good in that sort of mid-tier at this moment in time. And Toronto is a super important event for all of them because they were all going in there with a lot of confidence and seeing where you're going to finish, and that could make all of the difference. Look, Paris could turn up to Toronto and, you know, maybe, you never know, go and do what LAG did. I doubt it, but you know, it's not complete. Even Pred thinks I'm hilarious. Look at that. I think it's difficult. All the teams at this moment in time are looking solid in that mid pack. It's just who's going to come out on top, Bryce.
It certainly is, and let's take a look at our top performers in Search and Destroy. This is how it breaks down. It's going to be Pred versus Skies. Obviously, Skies taking the lead just a little bit there, a 1.20 against Pred's 1.0. All even and flat in that one. Obviously, better kills per round and percentage of team kills, all going the way of Skies in this one, Ton.
Yeah, 1.2 is very, very impressive. I'm actually very intrigued to see how Florida are going to deal with the side of Seattle on this one. Fast A seems to be the move for the side of Seattle Surge. 61% of their wins on attack. Oh, sorry, 61% of their attacks on over towards a NA side of things. Fast plays coming out on that side is what they're coming away with those wins. So it's interesting to see how it is going to break down if Florida have done their homework. Is that what Seattle are going to choose to do? Could come down to sniping as well. We know a couple of players on both these two teams are curious to see how things are going to be working out. Don't think it's necessarily going to be Pred. He's going to be the one up close and personal, trying to find those gunfights, trying to get in the little corner in the courtyard and cause issue from there on attack and defense. But I'm interested, looking at the records of both these two teams as well. I'm sure it'll be coming up on the graphic, but I'll let you know early. Florida 4-5, Seattle 5-3. Speaking of the snipers, let's have a look at how Sib was doing previously in one of his previous series. Working out on Desert Siege from Brycey, but is he going to be able to get it done here on Tuscan?
Oh, that's the question. There's been an awful lot said this year about snipers, actually, both for the negative and the positive. I feel like it's this weird thing where if somebody does well with a sniper, godlike, always should be running it. If someone doesn't do very well with a sniper, they're like, oh, this is the worst call you've ever made. Why would you have a sniper? Put it away. Do nothing. It's kind of this interesting point where they're both right, but the issue is always going to be context. Like, there's always the call after like 2 rounds, if you don't get a kill with a sniper or you're getting out sniped, oh, you should put it away. Bearing in mind that does mean a considerable change in-game strategy. And if the teams haven't practiced as much to play around an enemy sniper, because you never really play to lose a snipe battle, then it can seriously affect how their S&D is going to be going forward into the series. Because snipers can be incredibly powerful and incredibly like a deterrent to going even one side of the map. So if you kind of capitulate and say, all right, we're not going to counter snipe, we're going to give this up completely, well, then you lose an awful lot of ability to push in certain areas. And no team plays to kind of ignore part of the map.
It does make it a little bit more difficult, doesn't it? Certain areas are shut down. It does make those risky plays over towards certain sites when those snipers are aiming down. But anyway, let's see how it does work out for both these two teams. I said for the side of Seattle Surge, it'll be a great map win if they can find it here. Mac not necessarily having the best time of things. Pred, there to carry the load in that sense. A 1.32 will even out his 0.65, but Search and Destroy, Pred is going to probably be the one to do the business again. Look at this immediately from Seattle. Commit so much over towards A, Florida Mutineers. A fast B.
Accuracy! They're running straight into him. An Awakening takes that Paddy as well, and, well, that's the push. Pretty much shut out the door. This guy's an Awakening. Now I have to find something else, but Awakening does find one. Brings it back to a 2 versus 2. The only issue for them here is there is no rotation on the card because Bomb is in the worst possible location for it. Awakening will probably try and get it. You see the accuracy right towards the back, and there's a gunfight. Gunfight he's not currently winning as Matt goes for it at the same time, and oh my goodness, accuracy gets the player behind Awakening. Well, if you're going to go for bold and push P5, that's what can happen.
Accuracy in the perfect position, just slows them down, gets the shots in. Doesn't necessarily even need to find too much. I mean, it's always helped along when there's a team kill coming out from Awakening, mind you, but accuracy, very well played. Staying alive is just sometimes as important as finding the kills. That just stunted Florida's push pretty much immediately. What is Seattle going to try and do this time?
I'm guessing probably a more measured push than that P5 we just saw. There's a double nade coming through, and that Paddy! Oh, it's one out of the playbooks. Seattle Surge said, hey, let's try this. Let's take him down. And it has worked perfectly for them. The first blood that he didn't see coming. And Seattle now choose to make the push. Vivid, ready to defend.
Grenades out, Vivid weak. Trade comes through, he does well to find one. The strats coming out from Seattle here. I love all these little breaks that we're seeing.
Rotate.
And the rotate comes through. Honestly, I actually love that grenade that comes over to check Patio. They know he's there. Still, he does try to kill, so Vivid does a good job, but now the rotate comes around from Mutineers. It's already a little bit too late. Seattle Surge, not truly aware of how much room and how much time they have over towards A. Mutineers pushing together, though. Awakening finds a kill, 2v2.
Much better for the Florida Mutineers, considering map control is not really in the favor of Seattle at the moment. They have split as well and just run straight into the team of Florida. It's an interesting strategy that ultimately falls flat. We usually say don't split up in those scenarios because trading it becomes infinitely more difficult. That's exactly what happened for everything that happened for Seattle Surge. They've just lost a 3 versus 2, and now we're all back to 1-1, Ton.
And I love the initial strat. You know, the grenade comes over top church. Brilliant. They find the push over towards B with the well-placed grenade there for the information. Fantastic. Then they kind of like, in the position that they're in, they could have committed over towards B and caused issue, but in the end, they choose the wrap around. It doesn't work out. Getting into the next round, though. You can see how aggressive Seattle are willing to be on the defensive side of things. Look at them. They're fully set up over towards A, and that's a grenade from Awakening. Where is he? How... Look where Awakening is on the map right now. He was a little bit further back towards... He's yeeted that grenade over towards A. Finds a kill, and now Accuracy has to do the same job again. Vivid gonna cause the distraction here, but still Accuracy just holds strong. Sky still beams them, and all of a sudden it's a 4v2.
Perfect one there, and here comes the sniper, and Sim has not hit it. Looking for Sky, still hasn't hit it. Vivid takes down his teammates, and now you're in trouble. He finds the first, though. I see Skies, but he does get taken down before he can do any more damage. And it's a big push, and it works out wonderfully for them. Awakening with the opening grenade, and they push P5, but this time, much more successful.
And Accuracy not finding that first kill kind of secures that round. The good gunning coming in from Skies, but I'd love to see Awakening's POV of way through that grenade from, because I just checked where the death came in, because obviously we didn't see it from our POV, but where Awakening was.
I think you basically you do that one from like just on the L alley, and you flick it over just on that run up. It's not a million miles away from spawn to do it, but it's not too uncommon. You see it in an awful lot of games try and lock off block or anybody who pushes up that way, especially considering since the spawn change on this map, it is much more difficult to push.
Either way, utility working out for both two teams, but Florida Mutineers the one who've been the more beneficiary. Set with the grenade over onto Awakening. Just place that one all the way over towards A. Gets the call from probably Accuracy over there. It's Vivid now waiting for a push coming over towards B. A stalemate between these two teams. Vivid will find Pred. It's at a 3v3. Dave Paddy has to be careful. Accuracy will find a kill on Skies over towards A, though. Opens up this side of the map. That bomb should be going down.
It will. Dave Paddy may try and slow peek this with a sniper. Look for it. Vivid has managed to find Sib, though. Huge kill for them, and he goes onto the bomb, and Vivid gets a second. Everyone 3 versus 2 to a 1 versus 2. Accuracy all alone. Gonna slice straight on the bomb. I think there's a player underneath window, and it's gonna be that is taken down. And you can see the exasperation on Seattle Surge's face. They thought they might have that one in a bag, but no trades, no gunny, no map control, and that one walks away from them. Patience coming out of Mutineers in the end.
Patience from Mutineers, and I want to say very tentative player from Seattle Surge. There's a couple of occasions they found themselves up in numbers, especially on the attacking side of things, and the indecisiveness is costing them. They have complete A control. They know they've got the control over towards the field side. Yes, okay, they don't have church control, but at least try and go for the bomb plant. Try and make something work. All of a sudden, you're stacking one by one. It doesn't work out. This time around, Vivid's going to find one. Pred now in a dangerous spot as well. Has to get away. And just about does. This time around, it's a 4v3 for the side of Mutineers on the attack. Can they make the advantage count?
Nade's going up top, and actually trying to hold it back as Nade's flying from both sides. But Vivid Might be able to challenge him here. They're looking for him. He might have just slipped past, though. Sitting underneath Church, waiting for any pressure to come towards him. He's already going to be taken down by Skies and sits trying to hold a tiny angle. Vivid just says thank you very much. And it comes all down to Pred in a 1 versus 4. The Mutineers are running away with this S&D.
We said Mutineers needed a better showing in Search and Destroy. They've lost 8 of their last 9. This moment in time, this is pretty dominant. Pred now, 1 versus 4. We'll find the first. Be something special to get away with this one as Florida Mutineers will clean him up. And honestly, it just feels like Mutineers are taking the advantages that they get. If they find that first blood, if they have a man advantage, they usually are winning the round. Whereas Seattle Surge have fumbled 2 of them. Specifically on the attack, and we need to see some more decisiveness from that. I think it's sometimes easy for us to say when we have the Codcaster, we can see where everybody is. We're like, yeah, plant. Yeah, you've got loads of time. Sometimes it's hard to get inside the players' heads and understand where they know the information is, but it just seems like Seattle Surge are unwilling to commit towards a bomb site at this moment in time, and it is costing them.
This time, though, Seattle Surge find one, and I think Pred knows where a second player is as well, and he does. Advantage for the first time in a little while here for Seattle Surge. Awakening is going to try and make a difference. This might be a fast flank for them. They're hitting it as a 2. Say that, and they've just split up. Oh my goodness, Awakening with the absolute beams, but eventually taken down by Pred, gets caught. And it's Dav Paddy all alone against Seattle.
No utility, accuracy on the head glitch. That usually ends up one way. Seattle Surge get something back a little bit more there. I would love to see that commitment just more times from them. Fantastic stuff. They find the opening picks. It's easier to do, of course, in a 4 versus 2. Push on the bomb site as a unit and get the job done. I didn't hate that push from Florida, though, in the sense that, yes, okay, they will lose the first 2 kills, but there's an opportunity there, but the beams coming in from Awakening, not quite enough in the mid-map. Into the next round we go. Seattle Surge, can you continue this turnaround somewhat?
Oh, they're trying it again.
I mean, look at all the aggression coming through from both 2 teams. Are they going to be ready for this?
Run Mac, they're here, they're in numbers as well, and they go straight down. The Skies gets one as well. Sib fires back, bringing him to a 3 versus 2. That is much more successful for it, and Sib almost found him. A little bit of chaos as Awakening is towards the back as well, and Sib has just not had any health this entire engagement.
Gets unfortunate with that stun that comes over. I think their Paddy would have been dead to rights, but all of a sudden, everybody over towards the back. The gun needs to be crisp and clean here from the side of Sib. Their Paddy just playing the angles as best as he can. Accuracy will find one. All of a sudden, it's a 2v2 gunfight. Skies is going to get gunned. It's Sib left in a 1 versus 1 against Awakening.
And he sees him up top. Problem is, it's going to be Sib that has to push the tempo here.
That's that.
Awakening is waiting for him. That nade strikes Awakening, but they're looking for him now. Awakening keeps backing up. But he's trying to find him. He's called this correctly. Sib will get it. And back onto the bomb. And it's just in time. They make the clutch. Seattle Surge. A 3 versus 2. And the guns come forward. And that could have gone so many different ways. Unbelievable ice out of Sib.
Big round there for Seattle Surge. And those are the kind of rounds that can swing the tide of a game very, very quickly. For Florida Mutineers, there's 3 of you towards the back spawn. You've planted the bomb, yeah, kind of for that side. That sort of situation, you just got to hold your sights. The fact that they find the gunfight, both players find separate gunfights against separate players, is pretty inexcusable. To be honest with you, if you're the Florida Mutineers, and now can Seattle make this count again? Look at the aggression over towards A. This fast A, we've said that it works plenty of times for them, and they find the first blood on top of that. Waiting for the nades now to be drawn out from the side of Florida Mutineers, but Sky's the one up top. Church, who would be in prime position to do something with that, does not have one, and this bomb will go down for free.
Man gets this down, it becomes a very difficult retake for them. Vivid going to try and make a push here. Already he's in a good position. He sees Mac onto you. Pressure coming in from Church as well. You can see Dav Paddy trying to get in position for it. And Seattle Surge are locked in on this setup.
Got to find somebody to break. It could be Dave Paddy around field side. 25 seconds. That time is ticking down very, very fast. But Vivid is going to be the first one through the door. Can the rest of the team be here to find the kills? Dave Paddy will find 2. And all of a sudden, it's a 1v2 for accuracy. in the prime position. He has the time. Can he win this first gunfight against Vivid? Yes, he can. Now Dave Paddy left in the 1v1.
That Paddy goes for the pre-fire, and now go for the defuse, and it's not going to be enough, and they hold. I'll tell you something. The Mutineers made an incredible go of it. They found 3. The problem was, in the God spot, accuracy was still alive. And a 1v2 for him in that position that we've seen so many times. Seattle Surge have brought this back to a 4-4 ton.
The best thing for Seattle Surge there was the fact that they just did not let any of those kills come through too quickly. They didn't show themselves. If it comes down to the fact that maybe if Mutineers have another 10 seconds to then deal with accuracy, that is such a different situation. As it goes, Seattle Surge survive well around the A site, and once again, it's concentrated around this A side. Vivid, down bottom Church. Surely he's going to be dead to rights, and somehow he gets out. Sky's the bodyguard. Dave Paddy will find a nade, and this is all Florida Mutineers, and from what should have been a secured kill for Seattle Surge, is all of a sudden a 1v4 for accuracy.
I've never seen a bait like it. Vivid was dead to rights. Gone. The call has come through, and his teammate has run out the door into gunfire. That is an absolute breakdown. Vivid could have given first blood away, instead somehow stays alive, and the series of events draws his teams into gunfights. They lose. Mutineers take it.
A series of very unfortunate events for the side of Surge. That is tough. It's one of those situations, though, where Vivid, he makes that push. It's a little bit questionable. Doesn't have any support from his teammates initially. Gets caught in the corner. And just well played to stay alive. I mean, sometimes you'll see some players just challenge that. This time around, not going to happen. Once again, for the side of Seattle Surge, which way are they going to go with it? Florida Mutineers, a lot of control over towards A. Not much HP for Awakening, but and just to survive the onslaught of grenades that came on through. Now, for the side of Surge, it's going to be a slow one. Wherever you go, you're going to have to find a pick under the Mutineers.
Awakening holding this pre-aim up top P5. Just waiting. No information so far. Looking towards Wells. Still hasn't seen anything. Seattle Surge have not made themselves known on this map, and eventually we'll see Pred. Fire comes through. He's going to go for the challenge as well, but Awakening is cornered, but he loses the gunfight. It is answered back, though. Accuracy gets another one. Advantage now for Seattle Surge. Unfortunately, they've run straight into Vivid. And now Pred has to carefully try and get this bomb back. An awful lot of time burnt as well. Seattle Surge have to make a decision.
They do. How many times have they been in the advantageous situation and not made a decision? Now in a 2 versus 2, they are going to make that decision. Has Vivid made the call? Skies trying to get the angle. Does get the angle. 13 seconds left to go. It's Skies in a 1v1 against accuracy. Can the Iceman get the job done?
Huge play from Skies. Huge play. And they're going to come straight against each other here. Oh, no. Accuracy almost gets caught and runs. And now they're both running around trying to find it. Skies has gone all the way up to top radio. Accuracy's trying to guess this, but there's been enough time elapsed. They don't really know where that other player's positioned.
Shots there, not quite as crispy as you would have liked them from Skies, but he's going to get fortunate, and there you go. There's accuracy, and there is map number 2 to the Florida Mutineers. So back and forth, but Seattle Surge at times just not pressing their advantage. They will be punished for it in a 6-4 defeat. The Mutineers tie the series up.
And it feels like a very, very similar story to the hard point. A little bit scrappy in places for these two teams. But Skies with the big kill. And I'm not talking about the final one. I'm talking about the one to bomb. Vivid called it out. Skies reacted and managed to get that pick. And it forced it into a 1v1 where he had to find that player. Accuracy was going around the houses. Also got to say, Skies, like he went up top radio and then just decided to go the entire opposite way around the back of the map. A little bit of COD timing, a little bit of luck, but in a 5 streak for Skies. We're all tied up in this series, Tom.
Very well played from the side of Mutineers, though. A lot of disadvantageous situations that they managed to get away with. 6-4 on the Search and Destroy. Now we'll be heading into a Tuscan control. Difficult one to call, to be honest with you. Seattle looked good on that hard point for the most part. Of course, we said about that scary ending, although they always seem to control They seemed in control in many points of that search and destroy, Brycey, but couldn't quite convert it to rounds. So that's something they're going to have to look back on. Not necessarily the best of starts for them to this series, especially considering how Florida have looked in search and destroy as of recent. That would have been one they wanted to take away. It would have been one they would have marked down to say, we make sure we get this map number 2. They've lost that one now, and the series is on the line. I'm very curious to how this one breaks down, Bryce. It could be a map 5, if I'm honest with you. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it.
Yeah, it certainly has been tight between these two teams the entire way through. But only time will tell us how this series continues. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you right after this break for map number 3.
of Duty League is brought to you by Zenni. Armor your eyes with Block's gaming glasses starting at $24 by visiting zenni.com/CDL. The Call of Duty League is brought to you by Game Fuel. Victory in a can. Upgrade your game with a Scuf, the official controller of the Call of Duty League.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Call of Duty League. We are currently in a game with Seattle and Florida facing off. So far, 2 tight maps have gone on between these two teams, and it's still left us all even. Of course, coming up next, the Control. Ton, these two teams, who do you think is going to make the difference moving forward?
I think it's hard to say because both of these two teams, as well as having the exact same record on Bacage before we headed into it, of course, have the exact same record when it comes down to Tuscan Control as well. They're very evenly matched. Of course, as we mentioned at the top of the show, they have not played each other since week 3 of stage 1. So it is a long time ago since these two have faced off. It's very curious because, to be honest with you, I felt like Seattle were in control for the majority of that search and destroy. They were in control all of the hard point for the most point. They will be ruining the fact that they're not 2-0 up here. Honestly, I think that's my overall feeling on the series so far. They'll be wanting to correct that very quickly and find that second map, albeit it will be the 3rd chance to do so. But I don't know. I think Seattle will be the more disappointed right now. I think Florida will be sort of saying to themselves, yeah, okay, all right, we really had to clutch up to win that 1-6-4. Where Seattle fumbled a couple of occasions. As I said at the time, I just felt like they weren't making those decisive moments count for them. They weren't making sure when they had those numbers of advantage to push the issue, force Florida to have to do something. They were kind of waiting on Florida to do something. In those situations, are you going to be proactive? They weren't in that map specifically. Can they be here though on Tuscan? Offensive win percentage here for the side of Seattle Surge is the highest in the league in terms of actual statistics across this map. In terms of offensive, defensive win and average ticks, for the most part, it does belong towards the Seattle Surge, but the overall records are tied up. So curious how it breaks down, but KD's over this match, not too great for the side of Florida Mutineers, but Sky's definitely stepping things up here at a 1.18.
Yeah, 100% obviously, and I feel like Awakening has had a bit of a quiet game so far, and I don't know if that's just the fact that we have such a high standard set for him moving forward in the CDL. It's always one of these things where the fans are like, oh, this player's playing great or terrible. Statistically, not that bad, but when you set the bar that high, it's always going to look a little bit worse than it could actually be. And the question for them, of course, is whether or not Awakening can wake up and take over and maybe make the difference between these two teams. Because right now, very little daylight between them in the way that they've actually been playing. A little bit scrappy, a couple of minor mistakes, but quite evenly matched the entire way through so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, further going on to that point about Awakening, last time around that these two teams played, it dropped to 1.35. It was a 3-0 for Florida Mutineers. So if he can find that level, then maybe we would have seen something a little bit different on the Bacage. And well, we did see a good play from him, of course, in the Search and Destroy. So if he can keep it up, Florida definitely do have a chance. It's just, for me, it definitely felt like Seattle were kind of in control for the most part in that Search and just did not make it count. Florida clutched up well, though, so you got to give them props for that. Can they turn it around here and continue to do so on the Control, though? That's the question, as we've seen in terms of offensive ticks coming in for the side of Seattle Surge. They're currently sitting at first on offensive rounds. So, I mean, it's a good stat line to have, isn't it? It's very solid, but from the side of Florida, their defensive side of things is good as well. So, it's hard. I mean, both of these two teams are very well matched, Pricey, and it's very obvious looking at the statistics across every single map. There's a map in it here and there in terms of the records on each of the maps that we are playing in this series. So very tight affair.
It certainly is. Well, let's look at some of the highlights from the last map. This is our Game Fuel tactical play. We jump aboard with Skies, who essentially just makes a very clutch kill. As you can see, this comes through, eventually does find Pred, and it buys him a little bit of time. Eventually, actually will get this bomb down. When it came down to it as well, Skies held his nerve, and he checked more of the map. That's kind of the crazy thing for this one. Skies made a decision at this point to go all the way around the map. He didn't check P5, he didn't check Plat, he went all the way around. This could have gone disastrously, but
timing.
A little bit of COD timing, finds accuracy, and that is our Game Fuel tactical play, Ton.
Very, very well done from the side of Skies. And as said, it was one of the keys to victory. We really did want to see more from him. Currently, overall, it was a 0.98 during Major 3 qualifiers. And he's putting up a 1.18 so far in this series. So that's a much more... I mean, it's exactly pretty much in the middle of where he needs to be. 1.10 was his prior KD across the whole of the season. 0.98 during Major 3 qualifiers. And he's 0.08 ahead of what his prior KD was. So we're stepping it up. He wants to average it out, get back to that glorious land of a 1.1. He's on his way. We'll love to say it.
That's an interesting point to make. Glorious back to a 1.1. And I feel like when we talk about statistics like that, some people expect like a 1.4 from players sometimes without having any real context of the fact that how difficult it is. It's the exception, not the rule for most of these players. Like a 1.15 is actually a very good score for a lot of people. Hey, even dropping a 1 in the Pro League is something to be admired because you're going against the very best players in Call of Duty. And if you are trading even, you are not being a detriment to your team. Unfortunately, in this match, Mac has not had a good time so far, but still an awful lot of maps to play. All that could change as we head into the control.
Yeah, too many people see what Cell and Shotzi are doing and things like that, and it's just, no, they are not normal people, okay? They're not normal.
Oh, at the moment, a little bit of a split here coming in. You can already see they're just looking to try and get a bit of positioning. Already being captured by Skies from the Mutineers, but it is a bit of a wipe. They've been taken down so far, and Seattle Surge move up the map for this one, but that Paddy's already found that kill towards Tiles. This actually opens up P5 for them, and now Seattle Surge might have to double back.
They might have to. They do have Pred over here, but not with a lot of support. Grenad's going to come over and maybe just slow down the Florida Mutineers for just a second. Surge having to back up their defenses over towards Beat. Reinforce them as best as they can. Air Control now going over towards the side of Mutineers, and they'll make sure to get this one locked in.
Well, it's still a little bit in favor of Seattle here, but Awakening going to try and make himself known, but Pred gets that kill. Does he make the push here? He does have some backup in the middle of the map. He runs into you and gets instantly taken down. Sid tries to go for the trade, and he gets taken down by Vivid as well. They're feeding them all these kills, so they don't want to. And I think at this point, it's let A go and concentrate on B.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing, but I would like to see Seattle set up there. There's no point in maybe over-forcing the issue over towards A, is there? I mean, you're going to probably lose it. Either way, walk away with that one. A minute and 50 seconds is left to play. The live's pretty much dead even, just wanted it. Don't be too despondent with that either, one of these two teams. Now, can they lock it down here? Over towards the B side. Sib, oh, he isn't going to find that first one, and that could be detrimental. The rest of the team coming in off respawn, going to have to do something here.
The pressure is now on. Seattle Surge trying to hold as well. Pred goes for the Chow, does find one at the same time, but dives straight out there. Doesn't check P5 at all. And now Sky's trying to come to reinforce. Looking desperately for these players, and he gets wall banged off of the map. And Florida Mutineers have tried desperately to get some control going here, but Seattle Surge have reinforced in depth. 2 plat for Awakening to get through as well. Vivid does make 1 kill, that's huge for him, and actually gets taken down. Awakening with a huge pick. Now it's the opportunity. Can Florida find something as they move on to this one? But Mac has shut it all down. And Awakening, while he will be in radio, he does not have the bodies to make a move.
Vivid trying to get something going here. Doesn't quite work out, but good job here. From the side of Seattle, they're keeping it scrappy. But for the side of Mutineers here, you know, you have getting into positions where something could have been done. It's just a couple of gunfights here or there. Not going your way. But it is a hard one to break. Seattle Surge looking to try and lock this one down if they can. We know that their offensive statistics are the strongest in the league when it comes down to Tuscan control. And the defense is looking pretty solid here. As Vivid gonna maybe find a breakthrough. Nobody in church. Is Vivid gonna escape round? Yes, he is. Finds one. Are the rest of the team there to help him out, though?
No. I'll be honest with you, at this point, all Florida have been able to do is hold open the P5 door. They've not really been able to make a move here. One last roll of the dice, though. Awakening with a big pick. They're now going to try and apply this pressure. That Paddy drives straight in, but not in the corner. Skies gets another one. They're jumping into this hill desperately, but they don't have the position or any hills to actually get it done. And that was a Hail Mary play. It was not ideal, and they paid the price in the end, but they had to just hope a gunfight or 2 went their way. But that was difficult for them. Seattle Surge with a very clinical hold. It wasn't perfect, because most of the times you want Seattle Surge to get a little bit further up the map into that P5. Unfortunately, Florida just held it every single time. They were refusing to be pushed back into their spawn.
And as we said, when things get scrappy like that, it's sometimes on a knife edge, this map. It can be, but Seattle Surge just made sure they were at least winning out the trades. It didn't have to be a dominant kill feed in their favor. It just had to be ever so slightly. That was going to be a big hit through the middle of the map. They surely will get punished, though. Looking at where Florida Mutineers are sitting, did they see Sib slip the net? Seems like they didn't. Sib now making the push up top. This will give Seattle a little bit more map control with Sib. Here, is he going to find Dave Paddy over towards back? Not quite. A little bit of presence over towards A here, though, Brycey. This should be a locked in. I wouldn't imagine the Mutineers will fight over this too hard.
Now, they may try and put a little bit of pressure through, but they've got to make the kills first, and Mac locking that one down up top with Pred. We said, can we see a bit of a bigger game out of Mac? And so far, he's having it, but he's only had the defense. We're going to be looking for the players he's pretty sure have gone to P5, and he's called this one 100% correctly. But unfortunately, has lost him with all the doors being closed.
Pred just making sure he is cleaning out that P5 for rotation. Doesn't quite find Vivid. It's so important to do. All the time, just to expect somebody on the flank. When it comes down to these attacks, Vivid coming in off the respawn, though, is going to clean out the field side, if only partially his accuracy. Still lingering. Finds the kill. Now needs to wait for the rest of his team. If he can find Dave Paddy, that would be huge. Can't get the kill. Pred will find one over towards Platt. But again, the flank always coming through Church. You want to try and have somebody linger in the Church. Here is Mark to do so. Finds a second as well. This could be an opening, Bryce.
They're looking for it, and that's a huge kill from Sib. They're looking for it as well, but Awakening gets gunned. Absolutely removed from the map. But it's still going to need a little bit more pressure. The rest of Seattle Surge's reinforcements are trying to get there. Skies with another huge two-piece. And that is the difficulty. Losing a couple of kills stalls everything you want to do. The players have to stop in P5. They have to make sure their flank is secured. And you cannot push onto it. And Awakening gets a two-piece in mid-map. Seattle Surge found the first step, but unfortunately had to then take 2 steps backwards.
So difficult on the attack. You need to be perfect for like 2-3 waves of kills if you want to lock it in. Seattle found the first one. Didn't find much on the second. Awakening now, just causing chaos inside a radio. My God, see you later, Mac. 7 bullets in a dream right now, and the MP40. You want to make sure you reload that one on a 4 spree. 3 off the glide, which could definitely help you. Florida Mutineers, though, expecting to lock this defense in. Seattle Surge will not be too concerned if they do go on to lose this round, but look at this flank that's coming in. Pred will find the gun as well. Can't find the second on Dave Paddy, but the rest of the team now making the push from behind. I love this from the side of Surge, and all of a sudden Dave Paddy's left on his own. Dave Paddy is dead, and Florida
here come the nades.
Floundering.
Here come the nades. Sib is eventually going to go down towards the back, but that first tick, he's rocketing forward. The second tick, he is now on his way. The nades just raining through them, but somehow they're still alive. They've managed to stay in. The second tick is in. The kills are all going to Seattle, and there is only a Hail Mary play, and it's all come down to this. Seattle Surge needed 1 break and 1 opportunity. They seized it with both hands, and even the nade rain could not dig them out once they were entrenched. That may be the difference in this one. Florida blinked, and Seattle took the point.
And in that situation, it's just a big flank that comes through. But on top of that, they win every gunfight. After that, there's still work to do. Pred just lingering in Church. He's 19 and 10. Found a massive 2-piece in there, just slightly off screen. Massive plays out the side of Surge. Now they have a defense to hold on to send themselves into the lead in this series once more. And you put your money on them doing so here with the way that control has won for them so far. And overall, it's been a great series from the side of Surge. If they can brush up a couple of things and Search and Destroy, they could have been staring down the barrel of a 3-0 here.
They certainly could. And now, as we watch, it will be the Mutineers obviously taking 8. Just a slight amount of pressure from Seattle, but they're not going to be too worried about it. The kills do come through, and I think that's going to be the end of Seattle anywhere near A, as Sib just guns skies on that mid-heady. Sib's going to make a play. Pred's going for this as well. They're going to try and make something, but it is going to go towards them anyway. Just looking for the exit kills. Great teamwork coming out of Seattle Surge. The pressure is now on already. Vivid may have slipped the net here. Vivid going to find a kill, and they have opened it up just a bit. And Vivid finds a second! Vivid has found a second! All of a sudden, Seattle Surge are not on this map anymore. It's just Vivid.
He doesn't have much support, though. It's only Dave Paddy now backing him up. A little bit of work going on over towards Church, but that could be a pick that's going to come on through. Awakening finds 2 huge kills towards the back, though.
Oh,
and all of a sudden, how is it?
Get on the point! Get on the point!
I know, but they have to be careful because they need to make sure that they cover it. There's no point getting on the point when the gunfights are not going to go your way. Seattle Surge have somehow managed to claw this one back. I agree with you in a way, in the sense that Florida Mutineers need to make the most of it whilst they can. It did take so long for Seattle Surge to find a way back. But Florida Mutineers had to set up for what they thought was going to come through. Seattle Surge sent 3 down mid-alley. And win all their gunfights. A momentary scare there, Brycey.
I mean, I'm just glad they got that first tick. If they hadn't got that tick after wiping out Seattle Surge, it would have been disastrous. I thought maybe the Muniz would lock that one in. Already, they are starting to get some more kills. Holding fire, though. Eventually going to come through, and Pred and Sib are just locking in. Vivid Wiley will be alive. He goes down there in the end. No hero play this time. Is that opportunity? Has it slipped past them? They are back in their spawn. They do not have map control. The Mutineers have to find something again.
It's difficult now. Look at the defense here from Seattle. It is quite deep, but accuracy is having a game. 13 to 15 is, well, maybe me overselling it. Just a little bit of Awakening, though. I may well have found a third. Nobody to support from the rest of his team, but again, Seattle Surge can set up 22 seconds here, Bryce.
This is the last roll of the dice, and already Vivid finds one. Catalyst for the last push. Needs more magic coming through. Sib already locked through. The auto aim being pulled left, right, and center. And they've managed to find a kill or 2, but accuracy may have just shut them down here in this control with the 2-piece. Accuracy finds a third as well, and Awakening's up top, and Max says good night. Seattle Surge will take this control and slam dunk it over the top of the Mutineers. And I still feel like all that Vivid did, he made a hero play to allow Florida towards this point. Awakening flank found 2 more, and they never really got on the tick until everybody was dead and Seattle Surge was screaming down ramp. I don't know, Ton. I feel like, yes, they were in the right position. Yes, they were waiting for another push, but it could have been a little bit of a difference. I don't know what was going on towards ramp either, but somebody should have been watching.
It's one of those that it's hard to say without seeing everyone's POV. We were kind of watching from the minimap there, and it was difficult because I think when you get a little bit of presence there, because it wasn't just initially Vivid is there kind of on his own. He finds the kill, finds the break, nicely done, finds 2 kills. But then the rest of the team are kind of slowly streaming through. So that's given Seattle Surge a little bit of time to get their nades off and get themselves into a better position to try and do something here. The kills did come in. I think it was a momentarily forward down for the side of Surge, but they were kind of sporadic in a sense.
My issue is not that they should sack this point, by the way. The grenades on this obviously are
it's
horrific to deal with. But I feel like there was a good portion of time there where stopping the clock would have obviously benefited them. I feel like people forget that. Just stopping the clock in control is a massive thing. Because if you get enough time from it, it can enable you to set up for another push, even if you don't get that tick. But Awakening was towards the back. Vivid made a play through the middle. They had players everywhere. Seattle Surge were not in a good position. The fact they managed to run down ramp as a 3 normally would be punished very severely. It wasn't in that case, and I don't know if, like I said, I don't know who should have jumped on it. Maybe a few seconds. It may not have actually mattered in the end, but
yeah, so usually
looked a little bit wrong.
It looked like Dave Paddy maybe wasn't watching that from Platt side. I don't want to put it onto him necessarily, but those 3 players that did run down, Sib walks all the way through to Fountain in the end, or towards the statue, I should say, and finds the gunny over towards the back alley. 3-0 for Seattle Surge now on the control. Hell of a way to get yourself back into the lead. A Berlin hardpoint coming up next as well. Difficult. Looking over towards Berlin. I mean, both teams with 3 wins. Florida with the 2 losses. Seattle with the 4. Relatively close. But honestly, for me, it has kind of felt, and I want to be honest with that Search and Destroy. I don't want to say that Seattle completely threw it, but there was a couple of rounds that definitely could have went their way. Ultimately, throughout 90% of that hardpoint game, they looked the better squad. And a 3-0 on the control, this lead doesn't necessarily humble them whatsoever. This is very well deserved. It could have been 3-0 at this point. Florida Mutineers have done well to hang on, but that control was not good enough in that scenario. I say that though, it is always difficult when you lose your first defense. Obviously, it's always you're staring down a likely 3-0 unless you can answer back immediately. But yeah, I mean, it's a tough place to be now if you're the Florida Mutineers. Even though you did scrape together a win on Search and Destroy, you're going to have to scrape together a win here on the Berlin. And let's see if they can do it. They'll be saying to themselves, look, we clawed it back on Bocage, all about Bocage. Very, very different to Berlin. Can they do it here? I think it's going to come down to ARs having a good performance. If they can do that, they may be able to bring it back into it. But accuracy's looked pretty hot during this series. It has to be said. And I think key is going to be an issue for them on Berlin when we get over to it.
Yeah, and I think at the moment here for Florida, and don't get me wrong, right? I think both teams have had a little bit of mistakes left and right, but they just didn't look as composed as they could have done on that control. And it has been telling all the way through here. Bearing in mind, right, we're talking about them having to get onto that point there in that round and the bit of control that we just saw. It came off the back of a vivid hero play. Plays that do not work the majority of the time, but he made it. And if they had captured that point, it would have all been off of his back. The fact he made the kills in the position he found them when he shouldn't have been able to was mind-blowing. Awakening came through, made a few kills towards the back as well. Of essentially almost a perfect control setup. And then nothing came out of it. Yes, you can give full credit to Seattle Surge for breaking it and making an incredible call to rain nades and hit ramp as a trio that they have done before. But a stun could have set them up. A nade could have set them up. A player plat or on hill could have destroyed that entire push. And it was that little gap and weakness where Florida feel like half a step behind sometimes against Seattle in this game.
Yeah, I agree. It just feels like that small little. It's almost like a little margin of quality, isn't it? They're just slightly off, but it is telling quite often in the scoreline. I think, you know, those hero plays you talk about from Vivid, they're important to have those players in your team, but you cannot rely on it. You can't rely on that being the everything for your team. But here we go. It's a new map coming up now. They'll have to forget about that 3-0. Heading into Berlin hardpoint over the season. Well, Florida just about positive with a +1 on average. Close game likely. Break percentages there for the side of Seattle, but a good hold from Florida as well. Let's see who's going to win these rotations. They're going to be important as we head over towards Berlin, Bryce. I think it's Seattle's to lose now.
Well, let's see how this goes down. Redemption for Florida, taking it to map number 5, are all dead and buried thanks to Seattle Surge. A big push already coming through. You can see both teams hitting this, of course, and it will be Seattle Surge on the slightly better side for P1. At the moment, Mutineers taking a bit slow, looking for their break.
See if they can find it, and there it is. All of a sudden, Sib left on his own. No magic to help him out there, and Florida Mutineers will force out. Seattle Surge will say, well, yeah, let's just ignore that one. Fast rotation coming in here. It's about mid-map control. It's about getting control over towards the P2 side. Now, I mean, you need to win some gunfights on the way around, though, Seattle.
Oh, my
Paddy and Vivid doing the... Oh, my God, he's pulled his pants down. Oh. Hell of a gunfight to win all the way to P2. And that is all of a sudden Florida Mutineers. Scrap time, Florida Mutineers in control of the second hill as well.
Wait a minute. Seattle Surge have managed to get bodies here into force, and Awakening Mac going to go against it. Pred finds them and eventually cleans them out here. Going to have to find Dav Paddy all the way out towards the boxes, and he does eventually go down. And for all the work that Mutineers put in to get that rotation, they haven't managed to get it at the moment.
Yeah, it's... I mean, sometimes on a hardpoint rotation, sometimes the kills can come a little bit early.
Well, you can see at the moment it's still going to be Seattle Surge in this point, mixing it up as well, and they completely and totally clear this one out. You can see now they're already pushing forward. Preds going to find the first, looking for the second, and a little bit of a wobble does not allow him to get that Paddy. But Mac picks it up and tries to get towards the back of this next hill. Going to have to settle for scrap time. And already, I think, a little bit of pressure coming in from the Mutineers. They don't want to give all of this up.
They don't, but they have to be careful of this rotation. Already got the spawns kind of locked in. If you lose the next couple of gunfights, they're in a dangerous spot, but they should have the spawns over towards the dock side. They do get them, but Pred is already here. 1 second to go on the old hill, and Pred up in the face of Skies. Skies needs some help from the rest of his team. Also did Pred. Nobody here from the side. How was accuracy? How has he managed to get through?
Unfortunately, I think he's going to get caught timed, and he is going to go down. And again, it's feeling like a game of two halves. We see both of these teams able to pull off good rotations and good slays and good breaks, but who is going to make the difference in the end? Mac in the position to try and get them off the respawn. It's still going to be Mutineers in charge, though.
Just about. Good lead for them now as well. That is building ever so slowly. Seattle Surge struggling to find the break here. Over towards this backside. They're Paddy holding it down over towards Fire as well. It's only Accuracy who can win a gunfight. Seattle Surge will walk away licking their wounds. Skies is just going to run straight past Accuracy. Look at this, straight away, all the way into back docks, and that's just a chink in the armor there, it has to be said. Skies breaks through.
I'll be waiting, though, because while you can make this play, it's always going to be difficult. He knows somebody's going to be at the back of Train. He's holding, just waiting for the pressure to come through. They need to find a little bit of a gap, and he's looking for Accuracy to thread the needle, and he sees a hand, takes it down. Skies manages to find one and gets onto this point. He needs his teammates to make some kills, though. Mac at the back, and he's going to challenge him. Seattle Surge almost broken, but stand resolute.
We've seen teams get a lot better at holding down towards P4. It was one of the harder hills to get a hold on, and I don't think they will this time, though. Skies does find Mac. It's important for Sib to survive towards the Train side, but both these two teams just kind of posturing. Don't want to give anything away. Kills being traded, but no points being gained, although saying that, now for the Florida Mutineers, they'll jump in. Rotation over towards P5 is going to start coming on through. It's important that Pred found that gunfight.
As usual, it plays out time on Train. Not something you can really rely on. And look at the map here. Everybody playing for the next rotation. They're not really worried about P5. Awakening has gone all the way around here to try and distract Seattle Surge. He knows he wants these spawns eventually, and he also knows that they're going to be coming for him.
He's really on his own. Doing a good job just to survive, gaining information, although maybe not any. Accuracy will eventually find him. Vivid finds him in the hill above the Seattle Surge. An important rotation that will go in their favor. They got the side of spawns you want. You want to be over towards Fire side. You also can't let Mutineers have this much freedom over towards Ticket. Sib will fold that. There's Accuracy and Pred now making this push through. They're giving away far too much time here. This has been a good P5 hold by Florida Mutineers, and they actually haven't really had to do much for it.
No, they certainly haven't, but like I said, very, very important for that rotation now. Seattle will not commit to this in any way realistically. And yeah, last 6-7 seconds going over the Mutineers. They do have the lead, but can they find a break as we head towards P1? It's a half-decent spawn for them. If they can get the pinch through Ticket here, it's going to be hard for Seattle to try and slow them down. But it all comes down to that big fight, 7-3, and Mac will win it, and that makes them all come one direction as well. Wait a second, how has Vivid managed to find his way to the back? So much pressure coming through at the end, and he managed to find two. But there is just not the players there from the Mutineers. Okay, well, it looks like it's going back and forth, Ton, and I'll tell you something, the Mutineers are winning currently. Let's find out how they're getting on with the Mutineers. Listen in.
Second fire, bro, Sib.
There's fire already on us.
There's two fire then. I'm watching fire tank.
Sib is cutting second fire.
Yo, lobby dead.
Docks? Missing Pred fire.
Pred still on fire. He could be on the tank. I think he's on the front tank watching the docks cross. I saw him
Second fire, second fire. Dice,
Third
fire, nice, good shit. I said dice.
Yeah, dice, Lamar. Dice, Lamar.
Nice, good shit.
I'm playing dice. Where, Sib?
P5.
Hey, Mac is in small, okay?
Yeah, I'm trained right now.
Small got me.
That's P5.
You're up mid?
I don't know where he went. Sib, and you dead.
I can do.
That's one deep. I don't know where Mac went. I think he's 55.
Low window is dead, Lamar.
Nice, rolling for Mac. Mac is
Pushing
like
in the 10,
P1.
pushing in the 10.
Grab your front fire, rolling for Pred.
Alright.
I'm from fire right now.
I'm in 10, I'm in 10. They keep on fire. I'm in 10. I heard low windows and back door. Yeah. Back door dead.
Side window, Lamar.
Low windows dead.
Dead, no P5 on me. P5. Second boss. He's going side window.
Run away.
We have your
He's going back door.
He went back door.
I have it. Back door, Mac. You got me?
Side window.
P5.
One on 2 steps.
Yeah, we got him, Reese.
No.
Good job, Reese. 25.
Sib, we can now hit him once.
Alright.
S1 steps downhill.
Yeah, I'm trying to get docks control already.
Full 60, we should be good.
P5 behind me.
GP5. Yeah, I'm getting docks. Please say no.
We're going on third steps in the fire. Steps fire.
Yeah, I'm hunting docks right now.
I saw front. Red, one shot in fire, Pred.
I
I saw
I'm
cross.
knocked.
Florida Mutineers absolutely spinning comms as they try to make sure they hold on to their lead, something they have failed at. But the rotation is in for them at the moment. Problem is, they've got pressure coming in all over. Sib trying to get downstream, not going to work it out. Dav Paddy stands there, but the spawn has flipped for them. And they're going to know this now their teammates have spawned up. Pressure. So much pressure on Florida, and eventually they are being swept aside by Surge.
And Seattle just get a little bit of purchase over towards Docks. They get a player there. Dear Paddy not in the position that he needs to be in. And the spawns come in for Surge. It was looking so good for Mutineers on this map, but Surge have just awoken towards the second rotation. Pred inside a ticket as well is getting things going at 20 and 14. He really has had a fantastic series. Full spree here for Sib as well. It just feels like everybody on the side of Seattle is heated up. And that is going to be the majority of time on P3 over towards Seattle. They're going to break 200 points. Mutineers are going to be 50 behind by the time we head over towards two hills that don't often produce too many points. Dear Paddy is going to just slow down that scrap time that will go over towards Surge. They don't get every single point that they would like. But Surge, it does feel like they're in the ascendancy now, as Mac is just going to read Dear Paddy like a book, and all of a sudden the push over towards P4 is going to start coming on through.
At the moment, Seattle Surge not really in the position they want to be in. Vivid and Sky is teaming up to wipe them off the map. Only player could be Accuracy, who might be able to put a little bit of a dent in the setup. But needs to find one, and Vivid shuts him down as well. Over and over again this series, we've spoken about Vivid making the important kills. And right now, Seattle Surge cannot get a toe into this hard point. The Mutineers are holding. And as I say that, it's curse of the casters. Absolute curse of the casters. Fortunately, Dear Paddy has got my back. Thank you very much for that one. Holds off Seattle when they looked on the cusp of a break.
And they get the spawns over towards the back. Nicely done for Florida. Vivid gets inside, and that's the final 6 seconds. Well, even if it doesn't go to Florida, the damage is already done. It's about a 15-16 point game by the time we head over towards P5. Now, if you're Seattle, you're not watching Dockside yet. It's the obvious push that's going to come in from Mutineers. They've already found some routes around there. And this is multiple kills coming through. Surge not watching it. Still stuck over towards ticket side. Surge still have the spawns that they want, but Mutineers are doing what they did last time around over towards P5, and that's picking up plenty of time.
They've done such a good job, actually, here, the Mutineers. Not only to hold train, but to put the pressure on a P5. This game is incredibly close. Seattle Surge will not want to give up this 30 seconds here as well, as Vivid tries to make a big kill in the tickets. It's not worked out for them. Seattle Surge now trying to soak, but Awakening finds two who dared to go onto his P5. This guy's going to try and make his way through. No! Oh, my goodness. That was a little bit shaky there in the end, but he does eventually find Mac. And they are now trying to open these avenues, open this map up so they can get towards P1.
Well, where Seattle got back into it and got themselves into the lead was P1 because they had these spawns. 3 seconds to go on old. Vivid may, well, he may be in a position to do something. I've just seen Sib turn on him in mid-map. I think that's what your voice just made that noise for, because that looked disgusting. Production, if you can get that on the replay, that would be very beneficial, because Vivid has just been smoked again by Sib. This lockdown for Seattle Surge is looking so good. 20 points or so to go. And Florida nowhere near. My God, Pred.
And now Seattle Surge are just slaying them out completely. The door was open eventually for Mutineers, and it has been slammed in their face. Hold. Not a kill to be found. Not a crumb. Not a whisper.
God.
Nothing as Pred cuts them asunder, and it is all over. Seattle Surge bury the Mutineers in a 3-1 victory, ending it on Berlin hard points. And they try to fight for P1 control. In the end, they couldn't see it with binoculars. Seattle Surge walk to the finish line.
And I am not a lip reader, Brycey, but I think Pred said something about get out of my lobby in the player count bottom corner. He fried towards the end there. My goodness. Himself and Sib just locking the map down. So I think it was 5 and 6 sprees between them. And as soon as Seattle had that locked in, like they did on the second rotation, it was curtains for the side of Mutineers. And we're going to need to see what happened to Vivid in mid-map, because I'm not saying that completely changes it. But if Vivid kills Sib, gets in fire, that creates an issue for Surge to have to look towards. That then means you don't have as much ticket control. I mean, you don't see the gunfight from, unfortunately, but hopefully we get to see it, because it felt like an influential one. And if there's a turn-on happened because of it, we have to talk about it, don't we? What a win for Surge. They looked dead and buried after the first rotation. It really wasn't good from them. But those P1 holds there, absolutely sensational.
Yeah, kind of ridiculous. And Also, I think Mutineers may have panicked just a little bit, and there's Vivid eventually taking him down. That's early in the game. I'll tell you something, there was a lot of points in that map where I thought it could go both ways. Vivid was having a great game in certain areas, and we kept talking about it, Ton, but I don't know what to make about that last one. That last push from the Mutineers, it was fits and starts, it was single players, it was no trades. And I feel like we said the same thing about the Control. Just when they feel like we might see them flip the script and turn this game around, it goes to pieces. A little bit of a lack of ice from the Mutineers in this one, and Seattle Surge hit them with a slaying.
As we've just seen on the highlights there, second rotation, fantastic work over towards P1. Curious if we did get the moment where things seem to change in the middle of the map there. It's going to be number 1, if you can see on your mini-map at the bottom corner. Yeah, it looked like a hell of a moment there from Sib. Finds the second one over towards the end, kills Vivid once again. And from here, look where Mutineers are. They're so far away, and Pred is in their grill. That was 3 in a row, and he just kept going, by the way. He just kept going.
I want to give full credit because also very importantly, and while it's fun to talk up the streak at the end here, if you cast your mind back before this was Seattle Surge did a very good job of denying the Florida Mutineers anything towards fire, any push right onto the flank. And it's why we were talking about that big fighting towards mid here. They had no opportunity to split and divide that map and make a push into P1. Essentially, they just kept flying in because Ticket was against them. They didn't have anybody to kind of try and flip it and pinch from both angles. Seattle Surge, great job there on P5 to the P1 rotation. And then obviously the Mutineers just had to sprint in and got cut down. But meantime, I've done a lot of talking this series, and I think it's time to hand it over our desk to break it down.
Hey guys. My man's Bryson. Thank you so much. Great job. But hey, once again, shout out to the Seattle Surge for getting a really consistent and dominant win. Now, there's a lot of implications for this win, right? Nameless and Ali were just talking about it. This stage, for stage 3, Seattle Surge are currently 3-1, guaranteed for the winner side of the bracket. Yeah. But when it comes to Florida Mutineers, and I love you guys so much, they're 1-3.
1-3, tough situation to be in. They had to win this one. They have to win their next series to hope for some sort of tiebreaker scenario. But yeah, this was a needed victory for them. But for Seattle Surge, I mean, that was beautiful gameplay across the board. I mean, thinking about that map, when that P2 hold that they had, for Florida, that had to just feel like an iron fist trying to get out of it. We saw Lamar all the way up top. Grandma's slaying them out, pinning them in the back, rotating over to P3. They pinned them in the back once again. And then what did we just see on that Berlin? Like, their setups in Hardpoint are absolutely amazing. The communication has gotten better, and this is a new Seattle Surge team.
Absolutely. We finally saw a consistent series out of Seattle Surge. This is the play style we would see when they would play teams like Optic Texas, like Atlanta FaZe. And we're like, okay, well, why aren't you doing this against teams that are supposedly below you? We've now finally seen that in this Florida Mutineers series, where across the board, nobody was hard carrying, nobody was getting put in a blender. It just looked like teamwork across the board.
You're right. And also, we have a Game Fuel post-victory spotlight with the one and only Pretty Boy Pred, Helen from Australia. Let's put my man's on the screen for just a second. Pred, number 1, great win. I missed that smile. But also, I have a question for you. Hey, so you guys banned Gavoo too, and rightfully so, right? You're going against Florida Mutineers. They have 3 great ARs on this roster. But you went to Berlin, and accuracy played up to par against everybody out there. Is there a special type of prep when you go against a team with 3 strong ARs, such as Florida Mutineers? Because you guys were on point.
No, not really, man. We don't really, they have good ARs, but we don't really focus too heavy on that. For us, it's more about we play on maps that we're comfortable on. We don't really worry about what other teams are good at. We more play on our comfort level. We trust ourselves that, we're better than teams on the maps we're comfortable on, if you know what I mean. So, for example, Bokies, we don't really care. We play on that map. That's our map. We like that map. That's how we prep for our VODs. We like to play on maps that we feel we're the best at.
Love it.
Obviously, something I've been a big fan of since this team has formed since the beginning of the season. You guys just go into a series and think of it like any other team. You don't be like, oh man, we're playing Atlanta FaZe. Oh man, we're playing Optic Texas. You treat everybody the same, and I think that's why you found so much success against the top teams. But obviously, you were starting to struggle against people that we thought, would have been easy wins for you guys, and obviously that was super frustrating. But it looks like you guys have finally found some consistency, especially in this series. What is your confidence like with the comfortability level of this squad now moving forward into Major 3?
Our confidence levels is through the roof, honestly, man. I feel like one thing that we started building in our team, the system, is just taking care of business. The matches that we feel like we should win, we just need to start taking care of them. Don't stress too much about the results, just take care of business. I feel like once we've built that mentality now, So now we just go out there and play for the win condition, get the win. You know what I mean? Like the most important thing. So I feel like once we've started building that mentality, our teamwork and our systems have just been falling into place, which is making us more consistent.
Hey, Pred, the nature of, Call of Duty Vanguard, it's a little bit more gritty, sort of back and forth, can be chaotic at times, but especially out of you guys, what I've seen throughout the season. But what I just saw in that match, there was a lot of opportunities you guys had where you just had them locked down in the spawn or the control when you had to have Sib and Accuracy pinch around. You guys collapsed. It looked very just like you guys had control of the map. What do you attribute that to in practice? Like, how have you guys taken that step to get to the next level?
For us, it's just finding a system on each map that works most effectively. I feel like, we have a few systems on certain maps that, work, and we try to perfect that and execute that in matches as well. We don't want to just get to the match and just forget about what we've been practicing. We try implement our system into matches. I feel like that's something that we were lacking, because sometimes we'd do it, sometimes we wouldn't, but that's something that we've been really focusing on. So then there's more consistency in our play, because sometimes we can't just rely on someone to just headbutt the hill and get a two-piece. We need to actually have team-orientated pushes. So I feel like that's something I've been really working on, but just practicing the systems.
Well, it's working, man. Congrats.
Hey, Pred, man, keep this up for Major 3. We want to see you guys tear it up big time. Congrats on the big win, and we'll talk to you next time, all right?
Thanks, man. Have a good day, guys.
Oh, you too. You know what, Ali, when you were talking about consistency, it's the argument that we've had was so tiring. It's not like we had fun talking about it when it came to Seattle, and it's finally put to rest. First map when Mac had 2 minutes in the hill, but he was -10 just about. It was players like Pred that was able to pick up the slack and it made a difference, while Accuracy and Sib are still doing their thing.
To that point, I don't even think it was him picking up the slack. Again, they talk about, and they're really focusing this consistency. They're really focusing this system that they're trying to get down and not relying on players popping off. We know what Mac is capable of. We've seen him pop off. We've all seen his flu game, right? So for him to have 2 minutes in hill time be -10, that's not even like him slowing down. I feel like that's just the team overall. That's just how their system ended up working out on that map. And when it comes to Seattle Surge, I have to bite my own tongue. I was probably one of the hardest critics when it came to accuracy, but being able to talk to these players and learn more about the fact that, they thought it was a consistency issue. It was everybody kind of doing other things on the map that was causing these holes and these issues. So for them to be able to sit down in scrims and actually focus on that and work on it and apply it moving forward, I think it's going to be incredible heading into Major 3.
And Seattle Surge are looking like such a better team, right? And we actually have an example of that. Now, the Scuff play of the game is a winning round in control, where Seattle just took reins of the entire series and got that big dominant win in Nameless. This is the first time. I'm not going to say the first time. They look more of a complete team this series.
No, this was beautiful. And what we didn't see like a little bit prior to this was they set up like a pinch. So you saw Sib and Accuracy. They went all the way around Church in the back and they get a kill. But it was really Pred. Pred was in top P5 and he won a gunfight. He was mid-sprint into Awakening and guns him to win that fight. He gets traded out immediately, but he slowed down the pressure. The next player had to go and challenge Pred to trade that. And then meanwhile that was happening, the rest of the players on Seattle cleaned everybody up on point. And what did they do? They stacked the point and they closed it out on offense, something that Florida clearly has to work on. The communication wasn't there because they did have an opportunity in their offense to stack the point and win, but they tried to stay pushed out in the lanes. You can see where that bites you in the butt in the very end.
I love it when you say it with your chest, man. Ali's Billy Rocca, I've been telling y'all all year long.
The beginning of the year, get on the B point on Tuscan. Swear to God.
Come on, get on that point, baby. But also, ladies and gentlemen, we have one more series left in the day. This is going to be beautiful, okay? It's going to be the Minnesota Rocker versus the Atlanta FaZe. And you would think that the best team this stage would be Atlanta FaZe. Well, technically, it's the Minnesota Rocker, undefeated. Let's see if that streak continues against one of CDL's best. We'll see you on the other side for some more Call of Duty action.